Just change the location. All right, that's good. Hi everybody, my name is RIB, Robert Ian Bonnick, inspirational speaker, inspirational coach and author of this book, Soul Survivor, How an Abandoned Child Went From Nothing to Everything, published by New Holland. Welcome. So this one here is especially for you in the BIG crew, you in the BIG tribe. So this is week number 2. In Turn Your Story Into a Book. We're a little bit late this week, but that's okay. I'm sure you're going to tune in anyway. Catch us either live or on replay. Now, last week we went into the fundamental essences of how to turn your story into a book. Right? This week we're going to go into, we'll quickly revise that for those of you who didn't make it, but I definitely suggest that you look back a week and you definitely tune into that one to make sure you have that really important knowledge inside your brain, inside your mind, inside your body, right? And then what we're going to do is that we're going to spend some time going into why people fail. Now, why do I do that? Because a lot of the time, we get a how-to, course. And by the way, at the end of this, I'm going to leave details if you want to take it further for the online course that I've created that's revolutionary, and a one-on-one mentoring that's also revolutionary. Right? That will be at the bottom of this and at the end if you choose to do that. But getting on to this week, so lots of times, we start with the best of intentions, right? And life, it looks like it's playing ball with us, looks like we're all going well and we're all on track. And then suddenly, it's like we're snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. We're so close, but yet so far. And then we get pulled off of our rails, we get derailed, right? And then we don't know what to do. We get stuck, right? We get stuck. And then consequently, for most of us, it means that we give up. And the problem is that when we give up, right? It means that that thing that we're going for is no longer achievable simply because we've talked ourselves out of the game. So this is really important, right? I'm going to give you 3, maybe 4 really powerful reasons why people fail in a way so you don't need to, right? And that's the important part, because at the end of the day, why we're doing all of this is really simple. We want you, whoever's watching this, either live or on replay, or whoever you share it to, right? We want you to turn your story into a book, which means we want your message to be powerfully put out there as a positive dent in the universe. When we do that, right, because remember, a book, once you write it, it can't be manipulated, changed, amended in any way, shape, or form. So how you write it, how you meant it to be is what it will be, right? How good is that? And people, when they're reading it, they know that inherently, instinctively, intuitively. And that's what I love about books. It gives us the opportunity to really positively impact one another in a way that we can go out and change the world, or change our part of the world, or change ourselves, or change our relationship with our partner, with our friends, with our family, right? Because everything starts at home, and it all starts with you, right? So all change in the world starts with you. So keep that in mind, all right? So, and as the last thing which I'll put in just before I begin, the power of this stuff is that we often have the how-to, but we don't have the coaching that comes with it. And that's important because, sometimes we need to be, aware that we are our own worst enemy, right, in many ways. And this coaching, 20 years of coaching that goes into this, this coaching is fantastic because it not only allows us to, to weather the storm of anything that's disrupting our flow, but what it does is that often, if we have a challenge in this area of our lives, then that same challenge exists in another area of our lives as well. So this is great because it gives us the opportunity to heal both, to heal what's stopping us from turning our story into a book, to also what's stopping us in our life. Now this is a really powerful gift, which I love, right? And because at the end of the day, we want the methodology to turn your story into a book to be as simple, as digestible, and as quick as it possibly can be, right? So that's the aim. Okay, good. I'm going to grab my coffee, sitting here, bit of a plug at Tropical Nomad. Great coffee. Okay, so let's start with a bit of a revision into what we did last week. But remember, please go and check last week out so you get the full immersion. So here is my book. It's an old copy. Actually one of the first copies, which is why it looks so original, right? So Soul Survivor, How an Abandoned Child Went From Nothing to Everything, published by New Holland. So now, turning your story into a book, what we went into last week was, before you even start your book, there's 3 questions that you really want to ask yourself. The first question is, why am I doing this? So why am I doing this? The power of your why acts as rocket fuel to propel you through any challenge that you're going to face. So what is your why? Okay, so for example, for me, my why, I grew up in 2 children's homes in London from 6 months to 18, and the journey of my life is summed up and characterized in this. It's not where you start in life, but where you're going that's important, and what you learn about yourself along the way. Right? So my why relates directly to sharing that message to as many people as I possibly can. So why? Who are you writing it for? Right? So who am I writing it for? Who is my audience? Right? It's getting clear on who my audience is. Who am I writing it for? And we spoke about Facebook groups being really cool because it gives you a chance to get into your community, into the people that you want to write for, to establish, like the 10 most, important problems which are facing them right now. Right? The 10 most important problems which are facing them right now, and finding out more about them. What are their habits? Where do they hang out? Where do they live? What do they spend? Who do they hang out with? What do they do? What do they don't do? So all of these things you can pick up, from being in the right Facebook group. And the other question is, what intention do I have with the book? Or, what action do I want people to take having read my book? Okay? Now this is very powerful and very important, because then it really starts to delve into some of these spiritual, deep-seated reasons of why you're writing this book, right? And what you want people to get from this book, okay? Very powerful 3 questions to ask yourself. So we go from that, and then we go into understanding that, that within 1 second, your title, your cover, has told your audience, am I interested in this book or not? So you want to get that right. We spoke about, the title. A really great little trick or tip is to, in your niche that you're writing for, like what is the most popular Google AdWords search, right? So what phrase do people type into Google, in your niche? And maybe that can be the title of your book, okay? That gives you great little in there, right? Another one is that, your title needs to really explain what the book is about. So in a short period of time, I know exactly what the book is about. And maybe I know what your name is, but I know exactly what I'm going to get. Very important, okay? So you have 1 second, less than 1 second to attract your audience, okay? Now, the other thing is we're going to turn it around is the book summary or the blurb on the back, this one here. So we call it the focus point and thirds. This is the focus point up here, right? So this one here, you might not be able to see what it says on camera. But what it says is that it's not, and you said this before, it's not about where you start in life, it's where you're going that's important, and what you learn about yourself along the way. This focus point focuses the potential reader into what this book is about. Then we have the thirds, 1, 2, 3. Now these thirds are divided up into, 1/3 is like, who are you, and why are you, why are you writing the book? So what is your, not credentials, but like why are you writing this book? So this is more like a validation. I'm writing this book because I grew up for 20 years in an orphanage in London, so I know what life is like on the tougher side of the tracks, right? And I'm writing this book, right, because I want to positively impact the lives of those people who maybe didn't have a running start in life, to give them the insight to realize that you don't have to have the best running start in life to achieve things that you want to achieve, right? So now that's one of the thirds, right? So why am I writing the book? What are the credentials? Then the second third is, what is the book about? Is the book about, your journey through life, right? And, and more importantly, like some of those points in there. So for me, for example, it can be my journey being orphanage, not a running start, yet ended up working in, with Madonna, one of the most famous superstars, pop stars in the world, the supermodels. Had a business voted number 3 in the world. What else? Played elite basketball, elite sport for my country, and then probably more importantly than all of that, end up siring a family of my own, right? So that's maybe what the book is about. The book is about going from loved or unloved to loved, from realizing that by embracing all of the insecurities and the things about me that I'm not proud of, that I wasn't happy of, through embracing that, I begin to see other people. I begin to see the world and love the world for what it is because I've accepted myself. Which leads me on to the third point, right? And the third point is very important. It's about, as a reader of your book, what am I going to get from reading your book, right? So is it, I'm going to learn about empathy and how to apply it? Or am I going to learn about being relentless and learn how to apply it? Or is it going to be, I'm learning about, what makes me tick, on a really soul-conscious level, and how to work with myself to get the most out of myself. Is that what it is, right? So what am I going to get from reading your book? That's the thirds. And as we turn in, because again, as we turn into the contents, the chapter, right? What I want to learn there is about, okay, so I've got the chapters. So I want to rewrite each chapter as a newspaper headline. Why do I want to do that? Because I'm holding someone's interest, right? It's like going fishing. I hook you in with the cover, right? I keep you interested with the blurb, the book summary. And when I turn to the contents, if they're boring, I'm going to put the book down. I'm not going to get there. Whereas if I go to the contents and I see something that inspires me, that shocks me, that makes me think, then I'm going to be like, well, you know what? This book has got something going on. I'm going to read this book because I know what the title is. I know what it's about. I know who the author is. I've got awareness of what the book is going to go into, and I know what I'm going to get out of it. And you know what? This chapter sounds so interesting that why am I not going to want to read this book, right? Okay. So once you have the chapters, now this is the key part of it now as well. I divide those chapters up because the chapter is my roadmap of the book. It's the roadmap of where I'm going to go. What I want to do next is I want to break up each chapter into the following elements. And this is called the 10-point technique. Now, the first element is, with each chapter, what are the 3 points or the 2 or 3 points that I want to bring up, that I want to raise, that I want to talk about, that I want to go into, that I want to discover with you, the reader. Then the next thing is, which 2 stories am I going to use to alliterate those points that I'm going to be discussing with you, right? Okay, because we think in pictures. We're hardwired in pictures. Once upon a time is so much more than just a story to us. It's a way of life. It's a way that we accept the universe and accept ourselves. So stories are very powerful. So which 2 stories are going to help alliterate those 3 points that I'm talking about now? Okay, great. And after I've got the story, then which emotion overrides or sums up the book, sums up that chapter? Okay, very important, which I'll get into later, which is called the emotional writing technique. Okay, and then what we're into then is that because we're structuring the book now, what we're after then is, okay, so which other reference materials would I need to ensure that I have everything that I need? So that might be, if part of the book takes place in Spain, I might need some of the pictures from Spain. So I might be emailing a guy called Pablo, a best mate in Spain, for some of the pictures that we took in Spain, because this will be really great reference material and great material that I can use in the book, right? Awesome. So that's what I do at that time before I start the writing process. Cool. What comes next? So now we've got the structure sorted out. The next thing is about the emotional writing technique. So what I went into last week, and just check out last week to give you more of a fuller understanding, but it's how we use our RAS, our reticular activating system, and our subconscious mind to write the book for us. Flow of consciousness style as you wake up in the morning, right? So we do that. When we finish writing our book, we get into the 5-edit technique. And the 5-edit technique goes into how I edit my book. This is important because many of us get stuck on editing. We get stuck there forever. And we edit and we edit and we edit and we make wholesale changes and we edit and we edit and we edit, make wholesale changes, and we never finish. Because we keep on improving it, or we keep on adjusting it, we keep on changing it. We never finish. That might be you. We'll get into that in a little bit later. So after we get to that, then we speak about how to hand that book over to either the publisher and their editor that they're working with, or if you're self-publishing, to the freelance editor that you're working with, okay? So this concludes that particular part. I went into branding, which I'll go into more next week. I went into branding and how those steps then come into it, and how we can really boost this book to appeal to and find more of an audience, and to really push you and elevate you in such a space, in such a way, that then you create impact and income. What does that mean? It means now that you get more speaking engagements, more endorsements, more sponsorships, more workshops to work on, which then creates more of an income stream for you, all right? So that very briefly is a 10-point technique which I use for this book and all the books which I write. And I go into a lot of detail last week. Now, let's go into this week. So as I have a little glass of water here, thank you, I need to catch my breath. Great. So now what I really want to get into is why people fail. Now, as I said at the start of this, it's really important to acknowledge this because so many people which I've met, right? These are authors in waiting, which have written their book or trying to write their book, and they get stuck. It might begin working to plan, but then that plan soon turns awry, right? That plan soon falls on the side, falls apart. And now they're left in this place of, not knowing how to finish their book and not finishing their book actually, right? And this is what we're trying to warn and guard against. Part of the coaching, so I spent 20 years coaching, right? That's relationship coaching, life coaching, all sorts of different coaching, from celebrities to, ordinary people. Call it ordinary people. We're all ordinary people. Because the thing which I found, which is probably the greatest gift which I've learned, is that, we're all the same. We're always looking for, acknowledgement, support, to be seen and loved. These are things that we're all looking for, regardless of whether we're a pop star, whether we're a movie star, whether we have money, whether we don't have money, whether we have success or not have success in the way that success is described in the world, right? So we're all the same. We're looking for the same things. Now, when it comes to a book, what's powerful, and this is what I put into the online course and the coaching that I do around this, is that, it's about, understanding as human beings, what drives us, what motivates us, what inspires us. And that reason why at the start of this becomes really important. And it's not always the happy things, the bright things, the light things, which are there inspiring and driving us, but the dark stuff, or what we refer to as the dark stuff as well. And in this process, we really need to know how to embrace our dark side as well, what we call our dark side. Because in our dark side, there's power there. Power, 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 power. Let me give you an example. So a lot of us go through life with these balloons filled with helium, little balloons. And with each of these helium balloons, there's something or some things that we don't want the world to see. So we cover it up. We put our hand there and say, okay, I'm going to keep this one down because it's not, it's not something which I want to see. It's not something that I want the world to see. Maybe it paints me in a different light, a light which I don't want people to see me in because my ego is attached. So then I put this hand over it and I push it down and I keep it down. That's one thing. That's okay. But as we grow up as kids, that theta brainwave state I talk often about, we learn these things from our caregivers, our parents, the people that we grow up with. There's lots more than, there's not just one, is there? It's another one. And it's another one, and we're trying to show this face to the world that we're together, that we're intelligent, that we're smart, that we're loving, that we're perfect, that we know everything, right? And we don't. We don't. I haven't met one person yet that knows everything. Right? I haven't met one. I've met a lot of people. I haven't met everyone. But some people which I thought knew the most, they don't. And talking to a beautiful girl tonight, not going to mention her name, an incredible woman, powerful coach. Like, even she is like, there are times I go down where I'm not firing on all cylinders. I go through exactly the same thing. I go through days where I'm not there at all, right? I acknowledge that, right? And I acknowledge I'm not perfect. I don't try and be perfect, okay? But this is the thing. We believe that we should be perfect. So then we hold all these things down, these what we call sub-personalities. Sub-personalities. The player, the joker, the gangster, the cool guy, the fun guy. I had like 17,700 numbers in my phone for the last 15 years. It's actually gone up now. In Sydney, nightclub guy. And I'll be the guy that if you met me, doing the clubs, and my heart is right there, but I couldn't help, but I want to be liked, right? So to you, I would work out pretty quick that you're this type of person, and for that, I'd need to be this kind of person, right? To mimic you, to join you, so therefore you would accept me, right? Acceptance, love, right? Acceptance, acknowledgement. So I'll be that guy. Now imagine a guy who's meeting hundreds and hundreds of people every night, 3-4 times a week, right? So now how many people was I trying to be for other people? A lot of different people. So I was this chameleon, right? Just wanting to be liked. So I had so many balloons that I was trying to hold down, and I'm an energetic guy. For those of you who know me, I am energetic. I am full on, except Marina, my beautiful partner, knows that when I'm at home, I'm like, ooh, right? Because I need to create the energy again. So at home, I'm very quiet, right, in general, apart from when I'm around my kids, and then they inspire me to be crazy again. So introverted extrovert, that's who I am, or an extroverted introvert, whichever way it goes. So, but the point I'm trying to make is for each balloon I'm holding down takes energy away from me, right? So I'm holding down all of these balloons, and this is what we're doing now. So I was so busy when I was doing the nightclubs, and I loved that time, but being so many different people to be called, to be accepted, to be loved, to be honored and accepted for who I was, right? That I would remember all of the conversations I had with you. I would remember all these things, and I remember being that guy that I thought you wanted to see. Woo! So much energy going out around things that don't really matter, right? So all of this is what I was doing, holding this energy down. The minute that I let this go, the minute I said, you know what, I don't give a F-U-C-K anymore, and let it go, all of these balloons came to the surface. As they come to the surface, the energy that I was using to hold them down then comes back to me. This is the powerful part of it. So these things that we call dark stuff, that we hold down underneath at the surface to be cool looking, to be beautiful, to be sweet, or whatever it is denying energy to ourselves. And then once we begin to realize that these things don't matter, and we let them go, then the more energy that comes back to us. And with that energy, like consciousness is energy, money is energy, life is energy, right? So the more energy we have, the more life we have. So do you want to have more energy or less energy? Right? It's a pretty easy question to answer that. We want more energy, right? So then one way to access and get more energy is to stop playing the game, right? It's to stop trying to be perfect. It's to stop trying to pretend that you know it all when you don't. It's to stop trying to be the cool guy or the cool girl, right? It's to stop all that shit because it doesn't actually matter at the end of the day, right? And these are what I call onion layers, okay? I'm still releasing onion layers. I will till the day I die, and I'm comfortable with that, right? So the point I'm trying to make to you now is that, you know, we're talking about turning your story into a book, but really it's about human psychology. And that's why, to me, I have to marry coaching in with the how-to. It has to be that way because the two are hand in hand. If we don't marry those two in, then more often than not, we're going to be stopped by our own humanity. We're going to be stopped by ourselves. And this is the first reason why people fail so much, is because they fail to acknowledge who they are. They fail to acknowledge, you know, and embrace the things that don't make them perfect. They fail to embrace the things that they're trying to hide from the world, you know, the things that makes them human actually at the end of the day, right? Because all of these things, we all go through it, right? We fool ourselves and we kid ourselves that we don't, but we do, you know, at different times. So let's stop the pretending game and just deal with it. And so again, you know, the dark side is really important to embrace. That's what I'm trying to get over to you now. Embrace your dark side, embrace your shadow. And if you let this stuff go and people want to judge you for it, shame on them, right? You don't need them, because the people that understand, the people which are able to be with you and truly stand with you and truly empathize with you are going to be keepers, friends you're going to have for life. And at the end of the day, you only need a handful, right? What you can count on one hand, then you're lucky, right? You don't need many people, really, at the end of the day, right? So the first thing is embrace your darkness, embrace your shadow, let it go, because the energy that you're using to hold it down is the energy that you're denying to yourself. And by that action alone of letting it go and saying, you know what, I don't give a F-U-C-K, I'm going to let this shit go, the minute your life will start to transform in front of your eyes. It's powerful. So the first one is that, okay? Embrace your shadow. Embrace your darkness, okay? Because it's part of you. It's what makes you a human being and what makes you beautiful, right? In your own light, okay? And when you can embrace and love yourself for all of the things that you believe and don't find as being perfect, the minute that you can do that is the minute that you can truly accept other people. When you can truly accept other people and you can accept yourselves, once again, your life will transform in ways that you cannot even understand. So like writing this book, turning a story into a book, is more than a cathartic experience. It's a life-changing experience, which is why I love it so much. I love guiding people through that process because, to me, it's one of the most powerful things that you can do, all right, for another human being. And that's why I coach and online, all the rest of that, okay? But that's number one. Number two, this is not in order, by the way, but in order of which they come to my mind, all right? So number two, by the way, I don't plan any talk that I do. I let it come. I tune in, get out of my own way, and I let it come. If you want to know about the process which I use, happy to share it. Just send me a comment. Okay, now number two would be, like failure to plan, all right? So I've just told you that I don't plan my talks, and I don't. When it comes to a book, you've got to have a plan, right? Now, when I say a plan, now I just let you know about the 10-point technique, okay? The emotional writing technique is a humongous part of it. It's a revolutionary part of it, which will do things for you that you can't even describe or imagine, right? And so the plan, or the reason why most people fail, is that to do a book, unless it's like a book that you can do in a day, like it's like 20 pages long, no problem. No plan, just write the damn book, right? But if it's a book that you want to do, right, that you want to put your emotion, you put your heart and soul into, you've got to have a plan. So what I've given you is that 10-point technique. I can give you a cheat sheet, by the way, free of charge. Just write in Rob or write to a BIG group. Rob, give me a cheat sheet. And it outlines what I'm talking about now. Happy to give you that. So with that, then you have a plan. And once you have a plan of action that you can follow, it changes the game, because then you have a roadmap for where it is you want to go. In the online course, I do 35 plus videos that I shot here at Tropical Nomad in 3 hours. It was crazy. Just had one coffee. And but those 35 tutorial videos break it all down. Very short videos, written support, and it's cool because it gives you the coaching as well as the how-to. But what I'm trying to explain to you now is that you need a plan. That cheat sheet is part of the plan. Happy to give it to you. Without a plan, you're planning to fail. All right? So the planning is a really powerful one. The next thing that comes in is editing. So editing is really powerful because I've met so many people which have amazing, inspiring stories, right? And they're the kind of people who you meet and you just want to be like them, right? Part of you just wants to be like them. Be honest about it, right? Part of you just wants to be like them. We had a SpeakuP Monday here at Tropical Nomad the other night on a Monday, and we interviewed a guy called Mark Baker, and he's a human being of, he was, had a really hard upbringing. He went to the circus, right? He became a circus guy. And from that, he became skateboarding dude, which became world champion, world Dogtown. From that, he became nightclub guy, and he became known as the godfather, that he calls the grandfather of New York, hanging out with presidents and celebrities and all the rest of that. Like the people that he knows are just probably some of the most powerful people on the planet Earth. Right? Then he came to Bali and just became this Bali guy, And his story, just fills you with a smile, right? But here's the thing. So if Mark is going to write his book, editing is a key thing for him because he's got the stories. But without a plan to know how to break it up, I'm going to talk about these 3 points in this chapter. I'm going to have these 2 stories in this chapter. I'm going to have this overriding emotion in this chapter. I'm going to get this reference material for this chapter. Right? So he knows before he starts exactly what he's going to do. So here's how this and editing are combined. So some of the guys that I met, who wrote, I had a 50,000 word limit for my manuscript. These guys had the same, but they wrote 100,000 words. I wrote 50,200 or something like that. Not very many, 100 words over, 200 words over. They wrote 100,000, double. And the thing is because they didn't have a rigor, right? So they didn't plan it out. So what they did is that they just started writing about this and that, and maybe a loose plan, but it's I'm in Africa, I'm going to talk about Africa. Oh, but there's a great story about Spain, I'm going to write about Spain, and that story in Paris was amazing, I'm going to write about Paris. So you can see where I'm going. It's called writer's drift. Writer's drift. It means you start drifting away, right, into the ocean. Where are you going? I don't know. I'm going to drift. So then you start being non-relevant to what you're talking about. and then it starts to go away, and you lose focus, you lose discipline, you lose the thread, and away you go. So now that's in the planning, but where it comes in editing is that, so in this book, Soul Survivor, it's divided into thirds, right? So the first third is about what life is like in an orphanage or children's home. People that I met, the inspiring and funky characters around me. Ooh, right? Amazing. The second part of the book is about what happens when I pull the glass ceiling away and what I'm able to do when I treat each day like it's my last day on planet Earth. What happens, right? And the third part of the book is all about, those 5 steps that I did repeatedly to get the result that I wanted to get, and how you can too, right? So now let's say the 5-step process that I talk about. Now let's say that I'm on editing. Now I'm a guy I'm a mastery guy. I'm not perfection. And anyone who knows me will say like, we know that, Robbie. Because I'm not perfectionist, I'm not. So mastery is like getting in and getting better as I go. Getting in and getting better as I go. Giving it my best shot, but getting better as I go, right? So if I'm going through my editing process and there's 5 edits that I talk you through, which is, each edit is the entire manuscript. So the first edit is, does it make sense, right? So if I go through this entire edit, of does it make sense, and I'm supposed to go with that filter of does it make sense, and let's say that I'm like, I'm doing this in 5 steps. This step procedure, right, to obtain anything that I want. You know what? I'm a mastery guy. I think I can do it in 4 steps. So as I'm going through this edit of does it make sense, I'm also making wholesale changes. Now I'm changing it to 4 steps. The next edit, like structure of sentences and paragraphs. Now, if I'm going through that with that filter through the whole manuscript, and I'm like, 4 steps is too many, I can do it in 3. All right? You can see where I'm going here. And then I go to the third edit of how does it flow? How does it flow? More wholesale changes. The fourth edit, repeated words or phrases, where I carry the thesaurus with me and chop and change. So now, and the final edit is how does it all come together? Now, if I am making wholesale changes on each one, you can see I'm rewriting the whole book each time. And this is a major problem for people that I've met. They keep on rewriting their book in a wholesale way, and therefore they are doomed to never finish. Whoa, powerful sentence. Doomed to never finish. And if this is you're probably there going like, yeah, he's got a point. He's got a point. And you might be a person who's already given up. You put the book down, you're like, I'm done. This turning a story into a book thing, forget about it. I'm not interested, right? That might be you, right? Or you might be in the middle of it and you're working with, was it self-deceit or self-illusion? You're like, I can do this, self-delusion. I can do this. And you kind of know that you can't. And you're like, oh. And you're dreading the time when your friend, your brother, your significant other is saying, like, to ask you that question, like, how's the book going? And are you going to tell the truth or are you going to lie? You're like, ah. Right? So if this is you, this will help to nip it in the bud right there. It's called reconciling. Reconciling the 3 truths. One of those 3 truths is this. I'm not going to make any wholesale changes to my book. Another one of reconciling the 3 truths is about, I'm going to tell the truth. Let's go that way. I'm going to tell the truth. Now, this is easier said than done, especially if it's a life story, an autobiography, nonfiction, which is really what this is driven towards, right? Because there'll be people that you know right now, how you saw them then back in the past. Maybe you hated them. Maybe you thought they were the biggest dick in the world. Or maybe you thought they were the biggest, stronger word in the world, right? And now you know them, you realize they're actually not, or they changed, or you changed, or whatever it was. But here's the thing. When you write that book, you need to write that book from the perspective of telling the truth. If you don't, it's not going to work out, because people are going to feel that you're not telling the truth. And if they feel you're not telling the truth, they're not going to believe you. If they don't believe you and they don't believe that you're being congruent, guess what's going to happen? They're going to put the book down, and you're done, right? So that's one of the three truths you have to reconcile. Another one of the three truths to reconcile is, are you going to use the real name, right? Or a pseudonym? You've got to decide this at the very beginning before you get into the editing, right? If you do that and you abide by it, stick to it, don't change it, okay? Don't change it. Just keep on going through, all right? Important. So that's the three truths, reconciling the three truths. I could go on forever about this. I'll give you one or two more. So another one which I find that really stops people, right, is this ego, right? So I've said to you before, like in the beginning of this, writing a book, if it's like an autobiography, is really, really, really powerful because it's about embracing your shadow, right? And this is what people won't tell you, and what how-to is difficult to give you. One-on-one coaching gives it to you, right, in a stronger way. But, like there's this thing I call a clock, right? And those who maybe have listened to the podcasts that I do or the other stuff will know whatever. And will know this already. Maybe get yourself a cup of tea, have yourself a little break, all right? If you haven't or you want to hear it again, then just stay with me. So the clock. And I think I picked this up when I was doing the Landmark Forum many years ago, which is an incredible conversation that happens over, I think it's 2 or 3.5 days. 2.5 days, I think it is. The Landmark Forum, well worth doing, guys, if you haven't done it already. So what it is this. So 12 to 12. 12 to 2 is like, the stuff that I know. My name, where I live, my shoe size, my partner, my lifestyle, right? I know the stuff. 2 to 4 is what I know that I don't know. I know that I don't know algebra, right? I know that I don't know nuclear fission, right? I know that I'm no good at physics. I wish I was, but I'm not. Right now, anyway, right? So the stuff that I know that I don't know. But the biggest part of this is the stuff, 4 to 12, is the stuff that I don't know that I don't know. Now, why is this incredibly incredibly important? Is because that's where the learning is, right? That's where the insights live, right? This is the thing that allows you to go from here to there, or from there to there, or from there to there. That's where the power lies. And in going through this book, or going through this process of turning your story into a book, that's where you're going to dive right into, right? Into that area where you're going to have insights. You're going to go like, an insight is an aha moment. Aha! Or a wow. I've been doing this for years, and now I realize why. All these patterns come out, right? So how does this connect, and how does this relate? It relates like this, because as you're going through this process, right? Now, here's the thing. So you want to be honest. If your ego is intact. One of the things which I got someone writing in about with Soul Survivor, how an abandoned child goes from nothing to everything, is, that they were blown away by my honesty, right? And they were blown away by how vulnerable I was being. Now, that to me is really powerful because, that's what I wanted people to get. I wanted people to get that, that my life, even though you see a happy, smiley guy most of the time, I don't want people to think that I'm like that all the time. I don't want people to think that I don't have down times or darker times or times where I'm grey or times where I don't want to get out of bed or times where I don't want to connect with people, because I do have those times. I have them less now than I did before, but they do come up. It's just that now I've got more tools to deal with them, right? So maybe, whereas before it might have lasted a week, 2 weeks, 2 days, now it doesn't last that long because I have more of an awareness around what it is, and maybe I'm able to shift it faster, but yet embrace it at the same time. So in writing in a way that's really transparent and honest, in a way it's self-effacing, which means that I'm putting myself down sometimes, right? Why? Because that's what I felt at the time. So and I have no bones about doing that. I have no bones about sharing my failures, right? And even though I kept on repeating them, I've got no bones about sharing my ego and how that undid me on quite a few occasions, some of which I'm still paying for now, right? So I don't mind that. I don't mind people seeing that part of me and seeing that side of me, which leads me over to people saying, well, you know what? He's not all of that, He's not all this and that. Actually, I'm not. I'm proud of who I am, don't get me wrong. And I'm mastery, right? I'm about getting better, right? So the fact that I was able to do that in an autobiography is really powerful, and people can really connect with you. So those of you who are sitting on the fence, who are like, yeah, but I don't want to do this because it makes me look bad, or it doesn't show me in the best light, or I'm scared of the consequences in that way, you know, like, you've got to find a way through this, because, you know, like, you have the power and the opportunity to impact the lives of many, 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 many people. I remember growing up, because I coached a lot of women as well, and a lot of couples, right? And here's the thing, you know, I think women have it much tougher than men. I don't say it lightly, I say it with purpose. Why do I say that? Because in this particular niche that I'm talking about now, you know, a lot of the women which I've been coaching is about the feeling of not being valuable or worthy enough, of not living up to expectations. So let's be straightforward, right? We're a lot more aware of it now, but not in the past, right? Most people didn't realize that the cover of a book, this one has not been, by the way, but the cover of a book has been photoshopped, right? So we know that Vogue, all these fantastic magazines that I love, very, very rarely, unless it's an issue that is dedicated to telling the naked truth, they've all been photoshopped, right? So in other words, you know, the thing that women are looking up to, the thing that have been driven towards, you know, by society, by all sorts of different negative programming techniques which are being employed by media to make you buy, right, are things which never existed in the first place. So then you're trying to live up to something that never existed in the first place. It's like, how can you live up to that? Well, the answer is you can't. So a lot of people that I was coaching at that time were falling into that chasm, right, of just believing something, believing in the hype, believing something that wasn't even true, right? Extremely destructive, right? So part of this is that when you tell the truth and you don't lie and you tell it how it is, you know, like, you're being honorable and you're giving someone else an insight into who you really are. And with each one of that, you know, you're giving people a chance to be more accepting of themselves. And the key to everything is right there, is self-acceptance, right? Underneath all of this coaching tools and techniques which I use, and, you know, intuition and all of that, foundational is self-acceptance. If you can accept yourself for all of the things that you don't like, or the things that you don't want to see, let this shit go, pardon the French, right? The greater extent to which you can do that is the greater extent you will uplift not only your life, but the lives of many. Right? How powerful is that? Because, you know, deep down, you know, like, we all want to inspire other people, really. When all is said and done, we do. We might play a game of I'm all this and that, and I'm the tough guy or the tough girl or whatever it is, you know, I'm from a broken background. Whatever story we want to play around with, whichever story we want to hang on to like it's, you know, the most important thing in the world. But when we can let go of that story and just connect with another human being, starting with yourself or going through somebody else, it's really powerful, right? So what I'm going to close with is that this thing I call the Trump test, right? The Donald Trump test. And like, there isn't really a Donald Trump test, but it just popped in my mind one day when I was messing around with this stuff. And it's a lesson in empathy. Empathy is courage, and courage is empathy, right? So when I say Donald Trump, shout out to Anna, we spoke about this a while ago. You know, like, it's funny because when I say Donald Trump to a lot of people, they get polarized instantly. Ah! And it comes out, ah! He's this, he's that, and blah, 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 right? That's what they say. But when I ask them, you know, like, do you know him personally? Do you know what life he has? Do you know how he was brought up? Do you know his kids? Do you know how they were brought up? What values they have? What type of people they are? Do you know what his life like was between 0 and 7? Because that's what fundamentally determines who we become. Do you know all this stuff? And they go, Now here's the thing. If you are unable to get off of your good self and have the courage to explore that with empathy, not sympathy, but with empathy, the chances are you're not able to step into a greater you. That's a huge step. That's a huge statement, right? So let me just say it again, right? The extent to which you're not able to empathize with someone who polarizes you. I'm not saying you have to love them. I'm not saying you have to respect them. I'm not saying you have to go out and become a supporter the next day. But if you can't even empathize with them, It means that you're locked and you're stopped and you're stuck in your opinion of the world. In that clock, right? 12 to 2, no, 2 to 4, there's 4 to 12. It's in that area there. You're in that area there. This is something that can be a huge eye-opener to you, for you, right? Right now, right today. It can be an insight for you watching this right now. The Trump test. This crazy dude, Rob Ribb, told me about this Trump test. And you know what? I blah Donald Trump, or I didn't Donald Trump. And you know what? I'm not going to shift my opinion, right? Without having any empathy about it. What I put to you is it could be something you want to look into, because that thing there not only is holding you back right here, but it's holding you back over there, and you don't even see it yet. Powerful. Powerful. See how that fits. The Trump test. All right? So look, I'm going to begin to work towards the close of this one now. But the things that I want to take you to take away with this. So, turning your story into a book is one of the most powerful things that you can do with your life. Right? Why? Because you are impacting anyone who chooses to pick up your book and to read it word for word, verbatim. As you write it, so they read it. As you sow, so you reap. Right? I'm not necessarily a Christian, even though I think I was brought up Catholic or Anglican, but it's true. As you sow, and so you shall reap. So what I'm saying is that, you put yourself in your book, you put yourself into this wholeheartedly, without ego. You're going to have the opportunity to change someone's life. Might be that they're on the edge of depression because they've bought into what the world has told them about what they should be and how they should be and what they should look like. And, I had Caucasian values from a young age, being the only black kid in school for 14 years. I thought my nose was too wide, the lips are too big. I used to dream about, having a lip job. And a nose job, I used to do this all the time. Why? Because it makes my nose narrow. Okay, so the collateral damage is that my face is a little bit deformed. Right? But it didn't matter, right? And I was depressed about it. You know what I mean? But if someone connects to me, and someone tells me that they've been through the same thing before, and how they got out of it, how they worked their way down to the bottom of what they thought might be the bottom of that deep, dark world, and how they got themselves out of it, you've changed someone's life. Right? That's the biggest gift that we can give to anybody. Right? And that's what we're here for. Because people inspire people. People inspire people. Last time, people inspire people. And you can do that too. So if this idea of writing a book is in your awareness, is in your mind, don't let fear stop you. Do it. Do it. I did mine in 10 weeks on a mobile phone from the front seat of an Avanza with my kids screaming in the background. My darling love of my life, Marina, thank you for looking after the kids. Right? I had help. Right? Marina, love you, girl. Thank you. Right? But nonetheless, I did it because I was driven to do it. Empowered to do it. So turn your story into a book, and in below this I put the online course, $49.99, pretty cheap, 35 videos, tutorials, really short, 3 to 6 minutes, and you get this, you get me at you. So be careful, because I think I started in the start of the day, because I shot all the videos in one day, A Tropical Nomad, and I started off like energy was and welcome to turn your story into a book. I had one coffee, but my energy was going up. So at the end of it, I was like, no, you got to do this. So I don't apologize in advance, but I'm just forewarning you that the energy of mine goes, it's spiking up. But go with it, because we need to be moved. Right? We can't be passive. We've got to be engaged and active. Right? The moment one truly commits oneself, then providence moves too. The moment one truly commits oneself, then providence moves too. Last time, the moment one truly commits oneself, then providence moves too. So providence, in this case, not the place in New England. It's about God. I'm not religious. It's about God, meaning, the universe conspires to help me. The universe conspires to put things in my journey, things in my path, through which I open the door to wherever it is I want to get to. But you've got to commit first, right? So commit. Buy the online course, $4.99, cheap. Buy it. You get so much value in there. It's ridiculous. Or if you want to go one-on-one, Like I said, I've got one on my mentoring program. The details are below. Get in touch with me, and we can talk about that. Have a bit of a call first to see if it works for you or not, and and we can flexible on certain things. But just look at it, right? If this resonates with you, look at it. If there's something which you think, I know someone who would love this, pass it on to them. If you like this energy, if you connect to this energy, pass it on. Share it with other people, right? Because that's how this thing grows, right? And the more inspiring message we have, the more positive dents in the universe that we have, right? The more impactful, the more power that we have to share a message to other people that will take them up, not down. And right now, with what's going on in the world, we need to be taken up, not down. Turning your story into a book is instrumental in that. All right? So look, I'm going to be back next week for the last one in a series of 3. Thank you to BIG, Brother Sasha, or Dr. Sasha Wynn. Love your guts, mate. And obviously here at Tropical Nomad, Itchy, the owner, Bella, the incredible, I've got no idea how Itchy found her, but she's awesome. All right, what a great team. We're here on Mondays as well. SpeakuP Monday, as you know already, have some incredible guests, Q&A and all the rest of that. But yeah, look, just, it's about teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. But it's true. Writing a book is teamwork too. Doing this live is teamwork too, right? So you're not alone, okay? And if you want to reach out to me to ask any questions, or if you want to reach out to me to tell me that I suck, which I'm pretty sure you won't do, but if you want to reach out to me and say, Rob, I love what you're doing, keep on doing it, then do that as well, right? Or if you've got any questions, no question is too silly, just ask me, right? And I'll be more than happy, to guide you in whichever way, that you wish to go, or that you need to go to get the job done, all right? So until next week, lots of love from me to you. Be back here, Tropical Nomad. And look, lots of love to all of you. And thank you for tuning in. And I'll see you next time, whether you're watching this live or on replay. Thank you so much.